The rain hammered the glass as Davy walked into the luxury boutique, his mother's watch wrapped in cloth against his chest. He'd come for a simple repair, a promise made at her deathbed 3 months before. But the moment he stepped inside, the smiles aimed at other customers died when they reached him. The manager's eyes swept over his damp jacket, his worn jeans, and something shifted in her expression, something cold and familiar. She asked for paperwork no one else needed. She called it procedure, but Davy knew exactly what it was. What he didn't know was that his refusal to shrink would expose a system, ignite a company, and turn his mother's name into a battle cry heard across an entire industry. Subscribe right now. This story will shake you, and tell me where you're watching from. The rain hammered the glass storefront in steady sheets. Davy Benicio held the door for his cousin Leah, who ducked inside, her backpack catching droplets. The boutique stretched before them, all marble and soft light. Chandeliers hung overhead, casting warm pools across the polished floor. Davy's coat dripped quietly. He pulled the cloth bundle from his pocket. Inside was his mother's watch, the one she'd worn every Sunday for 20 years. The steel case still caught light the way he remembered. A saleswoman glided past them toward an older couple near the display cases. Her smile was wide and welcoming. Davy waited. Leah shifted beside him, pulling off her wet jacket. "Welcome," the woman called to the couple. Her voice was bright. She didn't look back. Davy approached the counter. A sign stood near the register. Lifetime Service Guarantee. All original timepieces. He cleared his throat softly. No one turned. Another employee, younger, moved between the cases with a polishing cloth. He glanced at Davy once, then away. Davy felt the old familiar weight in his chest. Leah touched his elbow. "Maybe they're busy," she whispered. "Maybe," Davy said. He waited another minute. The couple laughed at something the saleswoman said. Crystal clinked against crystal as she lifted a tray. The younger employee continued polishing, his movements careful and precise. Davy stepped forward again. "Excuse me." The young man looked up. His eyes flicked to Davy's coat, his jeans, the cloth bundle in his hands. "Yes?" "I'd like to have this watch serviced," Davy said. He kept his voice even. "The sign mentions lifetime care." "Right." The young man set down his cloth. "Let me get the manager." He disappeared through a door behind the counter. Leah moved closer to Davy. Through the glass, the rain blurred the street beyond. People hurried past with umbrellas, their shapes distorted. Davy unwrapped the cloth carefully. The watch lay in his palm, its face clean, its band slightly worn. His mother's hands had touched this metal every day. She'd checked the time before leaving for work, before prayers, before calling him to dinner. The memory made his chest tighten. "It's beautiful," Leah said softly. "She loved it," Davy said. The door opened. A woman emerged, tall and composed. Her suit was pressed, her hair pulled back in a perfect knot. She approached with a practiced smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Good afternoon." Her gaze swept over them, pausing on the watch. "How may I help you?" "I'd like this serviced," Davy said. He gestured toward the sign. "Under the lifetime guarantee." The woman's smile thinned slightly. "Of course. Do you have the original receipt?" Davy felt something shift in the air. "From 2009? No, but the watch." "I see." The woman folded her hands. "We'll need documentation to verify authenticity before we can proceed with any service. It's policy." Leah's breath caught beside him. Davy looked at the sign again, then at the woman. Her expression was pleasant but immovable. "The policy on the sign doesn't mention receipts," Davi said quietly. The sign is simplified for customer convenience. The woman's voice was smooth. But our actual procedures require verification. I'm sure you understand. We handle valuable pieces here. The word valuable hung between them. Davi felt the weight of it, the unspoken question beneath. He looked down at his mother's watch, at the familiar scratch near the 6 o'clock mark where she'd caught it on a door handle years ago. I understand, Davy said. His voice was steady. But this watch is genuine. I can show you the markings. I'm sure. The woman smiled again. Still, we'll need to verify through proper channels. Leo, please note this in the system. The young employee nodded, his eyes down. The rain continued its drumming against the glass. Somewhere in the store, a clock chimed softly. Davi felt Leah's hand slip into his, her fingers cold. The woman was already turning away. Your name, please? Leo asked. His voice was quiet, almost apologetic. Davi Benicio. Leo typed slowly. The keyboard clicked in the silence. Davi watched the woman, the manager, move to greet another customer who'd just entered. Her warmth returned instantly, voice lifting with genuine enthusiasm. Ms. Vale will help you shortly, Leo said. He wouldn't meet Davi's eyes. She needs to verify a few things first. Verify what exactly? Leah asked. Her voice was sharp. You can see it's real. Leo's hands paused over the keyboard. I'm sorry. It's policy. Davi touched Leah's shoulder gently. She was 16, bright, headed to engineering school next year. She didn't understand yet how some policies bent and others stayed rigid depending on who stood before them. He wanted to protect her from learning. But here she was, learning anyway. Ms. Vale returned, her smile still in place. She held a leather binder. Mr. Benicio, I'll need you to fill out this authentication request form. It typically takes 3 to 5 business days. For a service appointment? Davi asked. For verification, she corrected. Once verified, we can schedule service. Davi felt tired suddenly. He'd walked these floors before, in different buildings, different cities. The exhaustion was old and deep. But his mother's voice surfaced in his memory. Hold your head up. Always. The watch has your manufacturer's mark inside, Davy said. I can open the case back if you'd like to inspect it. Ms. Vale's expression flickered. That won't be necessary. We have proper procedures. I understand procedures. Davy kept his voice level. But I'm asking for the same courtesy you just extended to that couple. Direct service request, no forms. The silence stretched. Ms. Vale's smile finally fell away. Sir, I must insist you follow our authentication process. It's designed to protect both parties. From what? From misunderstandings. The word landed soft but heavy. Leah's grip on his hand tightened. Across the store, the couple Ms. Vale had greeted laughed again. No one had asked them for forms. No one had questioned their authenticity. I see, Davy said. He did see. He saw everything with perfect clarity. The way Leo kept his eyes down, the way Ms. Vale's posture had shifted from professional to defensive, the way the other employees glanced over but didn't approach. He saw how the marble floor reflected the light differently depending on where you stood. Leo, Ms. Vale said, please mark this account for verification review. Yes, ma'am. Davy wrapped his mother's watch carefully in the cloth. The metal was warm from his hands. He remembered sitting at her bedside the week before she died, listening to the tick of this watch on her wrist. She'd made him promise to take care of it. He'd said yes. He'd promised. I'll wait, Davy said. Ms. Vale blinked. I'm sorry? I'll wait while you verify. I have time. Sir, the process takes several days. We send images to our authentication department. You have a master watchmaker on site, Davy interrupted gently. I can see the workshop sign through that door. Any competent horologist would recognize the internal marks immediately. It'll take 5 minutes. Ms. Vale's jaw tightened. That's not how we do things. How do you do things? With proper procedures, which you choose when to follow. The air changed. Ms. Vale's face hardened. She took a small step back and turned slightly. Leo, please call Thomas from security. I think we need some assistance here. Leah's breath caught again. Davy didn't move. He stood with his mother's watch wrapped in cloth, his coat still damp, his dignity intact. He'd done nothing wrong. He'd asked for nothing extraordinary. But here came security anyway. Leo picked up the phone. His hand shook slightly. I'm happy to wait, Davy said again. His voice was calm. I'm not leaving until my mother's watch is treated with the respect it deserves. Ms. Vale's eyes narrowed. Mr. Benicio, I'm trying to help you. No, Davy said softly. You're trying to remove me. The phone call ended. Footsteps approached from somewhere beyond the showroom. Davy felt Leah trembling beside him, felt his own heartbeat steady and slow. He thought of his mother's hands, her patience, her quiet strength. The footsteps grew closer. Davy didn't move. Thomas Reed appeared from the back hallway. He was older, maybe mid-50s, with gray touching his temples. His uniform was neat, his expression neutral. He surveyed the scene with practiced eyes. Ms. Vale? He asked. Thomas, thank you for coming. Ms. Vale's voice shifted, became lighter. We have a situation that requires some documentation. Mr. Benicio here has a timepiece that needs authentication verification, but he's reluctant to follow standard procedures. Thomas looked at Davy. His gaze was steady, not unkind. Sir? I'm requesting service under the lifetime guarantee, Davy said. I'm being asked to prove my mother's watch is real. It's policy, Ms. Vale interjected. For everyone? Davy asked. The question hung in the air. Thomas's eyes moved to the couple across the room, who were now trying on watches without any forms or verification requests. He looked back at Ms. Vale. Something passed across his face. Recognition, maybe, or discomfort. Let me see the piece, Thomas said. Davy unwrapped the cloth. The watch gleamed under the boutique lights. Thomas leaned forward slightly, his professional interest clear. He didn't touch it, but his eyes traced the case, the crown, the band. May I? He asked. Davy appreciated the question. He nodded and held out his hand. Thomas took the watch carefully, turning it to catch the light. His fingers were gentle, respectful. It looks authentic, Thomas said. Looks, Ms. Vale emphasized. We still need proper verification. I can open the case back, Davy offered again. The internal marks will confirm everything. Thomas met his eyes. For a moment, Davy thought he saw understanding there. Then Thomas's professional mask returned. Ms. Vale is the manager. Protocol is her domain. Exactly, Ms. Vale said. Thomas, if Mr. Benicio won't cooperate with the authentication process, I'll need you to hold the timepiece for inspection. We can't release items of questionable provenance. Leah gasped. Questionable? Are you serious? Miss, please calm down. Ms. Vale's tone turned cold. This is standard loss prevention procedure. It's not a loss, Davy said quietly. It's mine. It was my mother's. So you claim. The words cut through the boutique's refined air. Other customers had stopped browsing. They watched now, curiosity mixing with something else. Judgment, perhaps, or pity. Davy couldn't tell which was worse. Leo stood frozen behind the counter. Thomas held the watch, his expression troubled. Ms. Vale waited, her posture rigid with certainty. "I'm not giving you my mother's watch," Davy said. His voice remained steady, but something underneath it had changed. "Become steel. It's not stolen. It's not fake, and you will not take it from me." "Sir," Thomas began, "I came here for service, not suspicion, not humiliation." Davy kept his eyes on Ms. Vale. "I came here because your sign promised care. Was that promise only for some people?" Ms. Vale's face flushed. "How dare you suggest—" "I'm not suggesting anything. I'm describing what's happening." A phone buzzed somewhere. A clock ticked. The rain outside had softened to a drizzle. Inside the boutique, the tension pulled taut. "Thomas," Ms. Vale said, her voice tight, "I need you to document this interaction and secure the item pending investigation." "Investigation of what?" Leah asked. Her voice shook with anger. "You haven't even looked at it properly." "Young lady, I'll ask you once more to control yourself." Ms. Vale turned to Thomas. "Please proceed." Thomas looked at the watch in his hands. He looked at Davy, at Leah's furious face, at Ms. Vale's rigid certainty. Davy saw him weighing something. Duty against conscience, perhaps. Protocol against recognition of wrong. "Ms. Vale," Thomas said slowly, "perhaps we could have someone from the workshop." "No. Standard authentication process. I've already explained this multiple times." "But if the gentleman can demonstrate the internal marks, are you questioning my judgment?" Thomas closed his mouth. The watch sat in his palm, innocent and damning at once. Davy felt Leah trembling beside him, felt his own resolve hardening into something unbreakable. "Give me my mother's watch," Davy said. Each word was quiet and absolute. "Now." Ms. Vale smiled, but it wasn't pleasant. "That's not going to happen. Not until we've completed proper verification. Thomas, please place the item in secure custody." "No," Davy said. "Sir, I'm trying to be patient." "No," Davy repeated. "You're trying to take something that doesn't belong to you based on an assumption you won't admit. And I'm telling you, it ends here." The boutique had gone completely silent. Even the couple across the room had stopped pretending not to watch. Someone near the window pulled out their phone. Thomas looked at the watch again, then at Davy, then at Ms. Vale. "I think," he said carefully, "we should pause and reconsider our approach." Ms. Vale's expression turned to ice. "Thomas, I gave you a direct instruction." Ms. Vale's voice was sharp now, the professional veneer cracking. "Place the item in custody for authentication. That's final." Thomas didn't move. The watch rested in his open palm, reflecting light. Davy watched the security chief's face, saw the conflict there. This was a man who followed procedures his whole life. But procedures, Davy knew, could be weapons or shields depending on who wielded them. "With respect, ma'am," Thomas said carefully, "custody requires reasonable cause. I'm not seeing— The cause is my professional judgment." "Based on what evidence?" The question came out before Thomas could stop it. Davy saw surprise flash across the man's face, as if he'd shocked himself. Ms. Vale stared at him, her mouth a thin line. "Are you seriously challenging me right now?" she asked. "I'm asking what documentation supports seizure." Thomas's voice stayed level. "It's standard procedure, for me." Leah squeezed Davy's hand. Across the boutique, whispers started. The phone near the window was definitely recording now. Davy saw the lens aimed their direction, steady and unblinking. "The documentation," Ms. Vale said icily, "is my assessment, as manager." "But the watch appears authentic," Thomas said. "And the gentleman is willing to demonstrate—" "Appears," Ms. Vale seized the word. "Appearances can deceive, especially when people have incentive to fake documents." The implication landed like a slap. Leah flinched. Davy felt his jaw tighten, but kept his voice calm. "I haven't presented any documents to fake," he said. "Yet," Ms. Vale said. "Thomas, I've given you an order. Follow it or I'll note your insubordination in my report." Thomas's hand closed around the watch. Davy felt the moment shifting, tilting toward something worse. He'd seen this before, the point where dignity met force, and someone decided how much either mattered. "Please," Davy said quietly. "Just look at the case back, 5 minutes. If the marks aren't there, I'll walk away." "The marks could be faked," Ms. Vale said. "They can't." Davy kept his eyes on Thomas. "There's a specific microchamfer on the balance wheel anchor. It's a signature feature I helped develop for your company last year. The angle and depth are proprietary. No counterfeit would have it." Thomas blinked. "You worked for this company?" "With," Davy corrected. "As an external consultant. Micromechanical engineering. I licensed a anti-resonance design to your manufacturer." Ms. Vale laughed. It wasn't pleasant. "That's convenient. Now you're a consultant? For one of the finest watchmakers in Europe?" "Yes. And I suppose you can prove this too." "The watch can," Davy said. "If you'd look." "Or," Ms. Vale said, turning to the small crowd that had gathered, "this is exactly what sophisticated fraud looks like. Someone does their homework, learns technical terms, spins a story." "Ma'am," Thomas started. "Enough." Ms. Vale held out her hand. "Give me the watch, Thomas. I'll secure it myself since you seem incapable of following basic instructions." Thomas looked at her hand. At the watch. At Davy. His shoulders squared slightly. "I can't do that," he said. The boutique went dead silent. Ms. Vale's face drained of color. "What did you say?" "I can't seize property without cause, and I'm not seeing cause." Thomas extended the watch toward Davy. "Sir, I think you should keep this safe while we sort things out." Davy's breath caught. He took the watch carefully, wrapping it back in the cloth. Beside him, Leah made a small sound. Relief mixed with disbelief. Ms. Vale's voice dropped to something dangerous. "Thomas, you just ended your career here. I hope you understand that." "Maybe." Thomas met her gaze steadily. "But I'll sleep fine tonight." Davy felt something shift in his chest. Not vindication. The situation was far from resolved. But recognition. One person seeing him. One person choosing right over easy. "Thank you," Davy said softly. Thomas nodded once. Then he turned to Ms. Vale. "Ma'am, I suggest we contact the workshop supervisor. If Mr. Benicio's claims are accurate, his claims are irrelevant." Ms. Vale's composure finally shattered. "I know a con when I see one. I've worked in luxury retail for 15 years. I know exactly what this is." "What is it?" Leah demanded. Her voice was loud now, carrying. "Say it. Say what you really think." Ms. Vale's mouth opened, closed. Her eyes flicked to the phone recording by the window, to the crowd watching, to Leo behind the counter, pale and silent. "This is improper procedure," she said finally. "That's all. Simple as that." "It's not simple," Davy said, "and we both know it." Ms. Vale straightened her jacket. "I'm calling corporate security. Thomas, you're suspended pending review. Leo, document everything. Mr. Benicio, you have 5 minutes to leave this property voluntarily, or I'll have you removed for trespassing." "Trespassing?" Davy repeated the word, tasting its absurdity. "In a public retail space where I came as a customer." "You came under false pretenses." "I came under the pretense of being treated like a human being." Davy's voice was still quiet, but something in it made people lean closer. "My mother wore this watch for 20 years. She died 3 months ago. This watch is all I have left that carries the sound of her heartbeat. And you looked at me, at my skin, at my clothes, and decided I must have stolen it." I never said. You didn't have to say it. Davi held up the cloth bundle. It was in every word, every procedure you invented on the spot, every courtesy you gave them. He gestured toward the wealthy couple, and denied me. Ms. Vale's face was scarlet now. Get out. I will, Davy said, after someone who knows watches looks at this, someone who can see past their assumptions. There's no one. There's always someone. Davy's voice was soft but immovable. And I'll wait. Leo's hand shook as he set down his phone. His face was gray. Ms. Vale noticed and turned sharply. What? She demanded. I sent photos of the watch to the technical team for the authentication request. Leo swallowed hard. They want to know if Mr. Benicio is still on site. The words hit the boutique's air with strange weight. Ms. Vale blinked. What? The lead technician. He recognized something. He asked if... Leo's voice dropped. If the customer is Davi Benicio, from São Paulo. Davi felt the attention swing toward him. Leah's grip on his hand went from tight to crushing. Ms. Vale stood frozen, her expression cycling through confusion, suspicion, and something close to fear. That's impossible, she said. They can't have authenticated it already. It's been 3 minutes. They didn't authenticate it. Leo's voice was barely above a whisper. They recognized the design. They said if it's who they think it is, we need to... He stopped, looking at Davi with something like horror. We need to be very careful. Thomas crossed his arms. His face was unreadable, but his posture had relaxed. Ma'am, perhaps that workshop consultation would be appropriate now. Ms. Vale's jaw worked soundlessly. Around them, the watching crowd leaned closer. The phone by the window stayed steady, recording everything. The wealthy couple had drifted nearer, curiosity overcoming discretion. Let me see that message, Ms. Vale said. Leo handed over his phone. She read, her eyes moving rapidly. Davy watched color drain from her face, then flood back as angry red splotches. She looked up at him, then at the cloth bundle in his hands, then back at the phone. This proves nothing, she said, but her voice had lost its certainty. It proves you should have listened. Thomas's tone was mild. Sir, would you be willing to wait while we contact the workshop directly? I've been waiting, Davy said. A little longer won't hurt. Ms. Vale made a choked sound. This is absurd. Leo, call... She stopped, seeming to realize she'd already burned that bridge. Call the regional director, now. Ma'am, the technical team suggested... I don't care what they suggested. Get me Matthias on the phone immediately. Leo nodded and retreated to the office. Ms. Vale stood rigid, her hands clasped so tight her knuckles were white. Davy met her eyes and saw something new there. Not just anger anymore, but uncertainty. Fear, even. You could have just looked, he said quietly. Ms. Vale said nothing. She turned away, facing the displays as if she could will the situation into something else. Behind her, Thomas caught Davy's eye and gave the smallest nod. Solidarity or apology, Davy couldn't tell. Maybe both. Leah tugged his sleeve. What's happening? She whispered. Truth, Davy whispered back. Finally. The minutes stretched. Other customers began leaving, sensing drama they didn't want to be part of. But some stayed, curiosity keeping them rooted. The phone kept recording. Davy wondered what the video would look like later. Him standing calm in his damp coat, Ms. Vale rigid by the cases, the gleaming watches behind glass reflecting all of them back at themselves. Leo emerged from the office. His face was even paler. Ma'am, Matthias is in Switzerland, time difference, but the workshop supervisor is coming down. He'll be here in 2 minutes. Fine. Ms. Vale's voice was brittle. We'll settle this now." "Yes, ma'am." Davy unwrapped his mother's watch again. He turned it over, showing Leah the case back. "See this? The finish pattern? It's called Côte de Genève. The way the light catches means it's been done by hand, not machine." "It's beautiful," Leah said. "Your grandmother thought so too." Davy's throat tightened. "She saved 2 years to buy this, wore it every day after that. She said good things should be used, not hidden." She was right. She usually was. Footsteps echoed from the back hallway. Multiple sets, hurried. Ms. Vale straightened, her mask sliding back into place. Thomas moved slightly, positioning himself between Davy and whatever was coming. The protective gesture surprised Davy. The door opened. A man in shirt sleeves emerged, older than Ms. Vale, balding. Behind him came a younger technician in a work apron, magnification glasses pushed up on his forehead. They both stopped when they saw Davy. The technician's eyes went wide. "Meu Deus," he breathed. "It's really you." Davy blinked. The Portuguese caught him off guard. "You know me?" "Your symposium presentation in Geneva, 2 years ago, on harmonic dampening in small movements." The technician moved forward, excited now. "I watched it 3 times. Your solution for the micro-rotor was brilliant. We implemented a variation in our new caliber." Ms. Vale made a small sound. The supervisor, the balding man, cleared his throat. "Mr. Benicio," he said carefully, "I'm Raymond Fisher, workshop supervisor. I believe there's been a significant misunderstanding." Raymond Fisher's gaze moved from Davy to Ms. Vale, and his professional courtesy cooled several degrees. "Corinne, what exactly is happening here?" Ms. Vale lifted her chin. "A standard authentication request. The gentleman arrived without documentation." "The gentleman," Raymond interrupted, his voice sharp, "designed the balance wheel geometry we've been using in our heritage line for the past 18 months. He holds a consulting contract with our parent company worth more than your annual salary." He turned to Davy, embarrassment clear on his face. "Mr. Benicio, I cannot apologize enough for—" "You weren't here," Davy said quietly. "You have nothing to apologize for. My workshop is part of this brand. That makes this my responsibility." Raymond stepped closer, his eyes on the cloth bundle. "May I see your mother's watch?" Davy handed it over. Raymond held it with the reverence it deserved, turning it in the light. The young technician, his name tag read Marco, leaned in, both of them silent as they examined the piece. "Early 2009 production," Marco murmured. "Classic movement, beautifully maintained." Raymond nodded. "May I open the case back?" "Please." Raymond pulled a small tool from his pocket. Watchmakers carried them like others carried keys. He worked with practiced efficiency, the case back releasing with a soft click. Both men went still. "There," Marco breathed. "The microchamfer on the anchor. That's your work, isn't it? From the anti-resonance project?" "Yes," Davy said. "But this watch is from 2009. That project was last year." Marco looked confused. "How?" "I modified it myself." Davy's voice was gentle. "After my mother died, the original movement was failing. I wanted to give it more life using techniques I'd learned since she bought it. So I incorporated the new geometry, a way of keeping her memory alive through my work." The silence that followed was reverent. Raymond traced the tiny chamfer with his eye, not touching. Marco's expression had gone soft. "That's—" Marco swallowed. "That's beautiful, senor." Ms. Vale stood frozen. Her face had gone from red to white to a sickly gray. Davy saw her understanding finally catching up. Not just that she'd been wrong, but how wrong. The magnitude of what she'd done settling onto her shoulders with visible weight. "The engraving," Raymond said quietly, tilting the movement toward the light. DB, and is that AR? Anna Rinaldi, Davi confirmed. Your CEO. We collaborated on the prototype testing. She asked if I'd co-sign the final specification. Professional courtesy. Raymond closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, they were hard. He turned to Ms. Vale. Corinne, my office. Now. Raymond, I was following procedure. Now. Ms. Vale's mouth opened. Closed. She looked at Thomas, at Leo, at the watching crowd. No help waited in any of those faces. She walked toward the back hallway, her heels clicking sharp against marble. Raymond followed, but paused at the door. Mr. Benicio, please wait. This will be resolved properly. Marco, get Mr. Benicio and his guests some water. Make them comfortable. His voice dropped. Treat them the way we should have from the beginning. The door closed behind them. Marco exhaled shakily. I'm so sorry, he said. His accent was Italian, his Portuguese clearly secondary but heartfelt. You should never have been treated this way. It happens, Davi said. It shouldn't. Marco looked at Leah, who'd been silent through the whole exchange. Your family? My cousin, Davi said. Leah, she's heading to engineering school next fall. Marco's face brightened. That's wonderful. We need more engineers in horology, especially ones who understand that the craft is about more than just metal and mathematics. What else is it about? Leah asked. Her voice was tentative, still shaky from everything. About time itself, Marco said. About capturing something invisible and making it visible. About giving people a way to hold moments close. He gestured to the watch. Like this. Your cousin didn't just repair a mechanism. He preserved a connection. That's mastery. Davy felt his throat tighten. He thought of his mother's wrist, the watch steady against her pulse, the way she'd tap the crystal when she was thinking, the soft tick he'd listened to while sitting beside her hospital bed. Thank you, he said quietly. Thomas had moved closer. Sir, for what it's worth, I knew something wasn't right. You did right, Davy said, when it mattered. Should have been sooner. Should have been. Never! Leah's voice was sharp again. None of this should have happened at all. Thomas nodded slowly. You're right. And you're right to be angry. I'm not angry. Leah looked at Davy. I'm scared. If they treat him this way, someone who's brilliant, who's done nothing wrong, how will they treat me? When I'm trying to prove myself in engineering school? When I'm the only one who looks like me in the room? The question hung heavy. Marco and Thomas exchanged glances. Davi pulled Leah close. The same way you've always treated it, he said softly, with excellence, with dignity, and by refusing to shrink yourself to fit their assumptions. But you shouldn't have to be excellent just to be treated fairly. No, Davi agreed. I shouldn't. But until the world changes, excellence is armor, and dignity is my choice, not their gift. Leah leaned into him. Through the windows, clouds were breaking up. Pale sunlight slanted through, catching in the displays. The boutique looked different now. Less perfect, more fragile. As if the polish couldn't quite hide what lay underneath. The back door opened. Raymond emerged alone. His face was grim. Mr. Benicio, do you have a moment? Raymond gestured toward a seating area near the windows, leather chairs arranged around a low table. Davi and Leah followed. Marco brought water in crystal glasses, setting them down carefully before retreating. Thomas remained nearby, officially present but giving space. Raymond sat, then seemed to think better of it and stood again. I don't know how to begin this apology. Then don't, Davi said. Just tell me what happens next. Corinne Vale has been suspended pending investigation. she'll be required to complete bias training before any consideration of reinstatement. And frankly, between us, I doubt she'll be reinstated. Raymond's jaw was tight. What happened here was discrimination. Clear and unambiguous. I've documented everything. Good, Leah said. Raymond looked at her. I'm sorry you witnessed this. No one should learn these lessons this way. Better I see it than pretend it doesn't exist. Leah's voice was steady now. At least now I know what I'm facing. You shouldn't have to face it at all. But she will, Davy said quietly. So the question is whether your company will do more than apologize, whether this becomes a moment that changes policy or just gets buried under paperwork. Raymond met his eyes. What would you want to see? Davy thought carefully. His mother's voice came back to him. Don't just point at darkness, Davy. Light a candle. He'd heard her say it 1,000 times, usually when he'd come home angry about some injustice. She'd listen, validate his anger, then ask what he could build instead of what he could tear down. Training isn't enough, Davy said. Anyone can sit through training and nod at the right moments. I want to see access changes, regular audits of who gets served how, anonymous feedback systems. And I want young people, people who look like me and Leah, given pathways into this industry, internships, mentorship, real opportunities. That's ambitious. That's minimum. Davy held Raymond's gaze. You just said what happened was clear and unambiguous. If that's true, then a clear response is required. Not words. Structure. Raymond was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. I'll bring your recommendations to senior leadership. And to Anna. Anna Rinaldi? Your CEO? She's in town, actually. Quarterly review meetings. I could arrange a call. No need for that, a woman's voice said from behind them. Everyone turned. A woman stood near the entrance, early 30s, dark hair pulled back, wearing a charcoal suit that managed to look both expensive and understated. She'd entered so quietly none of them had noticed. Her eyes found Davy immediately. Recognition sparked across her face. Davy? Miss Rinaldi. Davy stood, surprise flickering through him. I didn't expect... I was downstairs in the financial meeting when Raymond's text came through. Anna Rinaldi crossed the boutique floor quickly, her expression tight with concern. He said there'd been an incident with a consultant, when he mentioned your name. She stopped in front of him. What happened? The question was directed at Davy, but her gaze swept the boutique, taking in Thomas, the remaining customers, the phone still recording by the window. When her eyes landed on Marco, he straightened reflexively. Someone on my team failed you, Anna said. Her voice was controlled, but anger simmered underneath. Tell me. Davy felt the weight of the moment. He could shape this narrative, could make Ms. Vale into a monster, could demand heads roll. The power sat in his hands like his mother's watch, something to be used carefully. Your manager made assumptions, Davy said. She saw me and saw someone who couldn't possibly belong. Everything else followed from that. What kind of assumptions? Anna's voice was sharp. The old kind, Leah said. She'd found her courage again. The kind where you decide someone's lying before they've finished speaking, where you invent procedures that don't apply to other people, where you call security on someone asking for help. Anna's face went very still. She looked at Raymond. Is this accurate? Yes. Raymond's voice was flat. I've documented the timeline. It's damning. Show me. Raymond pulled out his tablet, pulled up notes. Anna read, her expression darkening with each swipe. When she finished, she looked up at Ms. Vale's office door. Where is she? In her office, suspended. Good. Anna turned back to Davy. Her eyes held genuine distress. Davy, I am profoundly sorry. Not just as CEO of this company, but as someone who worked with you, who knows your character, who benefits from your expertise. She paused. And I'm sorry it took my presence for you to be seen. That's perhaps the worst failure of all. The apology landed differently than Raymond's had. It didn't ask for forgiveness. It simply acknowledged reality. Davy appreciated that. Thank you, he said. It's not enough. An apology is just words. Anna glanced at Leah. Your family? His cousin. Leah. Leah. Anna extended her hand. Leah shook it, surprised. Are you interested in watchmaking? Engineering. Mechanical systems. Then horology would suit you. We have a summer internship program. If you're interested, I'll make sure your application gets serious consideration. Real consideration, not token. Leah's eyes went wide. Davy felt pride surge through him, for her composure, for her courage in speaking up, for refusing to be invisible. I'd like that, Leah said. Good. Anna looked around the boutique again. Raymond, clear the showroom. I need privacy for this conversation. Her gaze landed on the person recording. You. I can't stop you from posting that video. But I'm asking you to wait 24 hours. Give me time to respond properly. If I fail, post away. The person hesitated, then nodded. Anna's shoulders relaxed slightly. She turned back to Davy. Will you come upstairs? To the workshop? I'd like to see your mother's watch properly, and I'd like to talk about how we make sure this never happens again. Davy looked at the watch in his hands, at Leah beside him, at the boutique that had tried to diminish them both. His mother's voice whispered again. Light a candle. Yes, he said. Let's talk. The workshop was different from the boutique below. Less performance, more substance. Workbenches lined the walls, each with magnification lamps and tools arranged with careful precision. The air smelled of oil and metal. Afternoon light fell through north-facing windows, the kind of steady illumination watchmakers needed. Anna led them to a clean bench near the windows. She pulled out a chair for Leah, then one for Davy. The gesture was small but deliberate, establishing equality, not hierarchy. Raymond followed, closing the door behind them. Thomas had stayed below, giving them space. May I? Anna asked, gesturing toward the watch. Davy handed it over. Anna held it the way Raymond had, with respect bordering on reverence. She examined the case, the crystal, the band worn soft by years of wear. Your mother had good taste, Anna said. She had great taste. Davy's voice was gentle. She saved for 2 years to buy that. Wore it every single day after. The best compliment to a watchmaker, to be chosen for daily companionship. Anna turned the watch over. May I open it? Please. Anna used her own tools, working with the fluid efficiency of someone who'd done this 10,000 times. The case back came away. She went still, studying the movement with absolute focus. The modification is extraordinary, she said after a moment. You retained the original architecture but integrated the new dampening geometry. That's surgical precision. I had time. And motivation. Davy leaned forward. I wanted to improve it without erasing it. Keep what she loved, fix what had failed. The definition of good restoration. Anna looked up. And you engraved our initials together. You contributed to the design I used. It felt right to acknowledge that. Anna's expression softened. That's generous, especially after what happened downstairs. She set the watch down carefully. Davy, I need to ask something difficult. Do you want to pursue this legally? I'll understand if you do. I'll even help. Our legal team will not fight you on this. Leah leaned forward. Would that help? Actually make things better? It would make us accountable in court, Anna said, which has value. But it wouldn't necessarily change culture. That requires something else. What? Davi asked. Commitment, from the top. Consistent pressure over time. Anna folded her hands. I can't promise perfection, but I can promise effort. Real structural changes. What Raymond said you suggested? Access audits, anonymous feedback, pathways for underrepresented talent. Those are good starts. I want to implement them. Want to or will? Leah's voice was challenging. Anna met her eyes. Will. Within 90 days, you'll see measurable changes. If I fail, hold me accountable. Post that video. Write to every business publication. I'll deserve it. Why should we trust you? Leah asked. The question was blunt. Davi saw Anna consider it seriously. You shouldn't, Anna said finally. Not yet. Trust is earned through action, but I'm asking for the chance to earn it. She looked at Davi. What would it take? What would make this right? Davy thought about his mother, about Laya's future, about every young person who'd walk into spaces where they weren't expected and get treated like trespassers. The problem was bigger than one boutique, bigger than one company. But change had to start somewhere. A public statement, Davy said. Specific, naming what happened and what you're doing about it. Not vague corporate speak about commitment to diversity. Actual policy changes with timelines. Done. A scholarship program, named after my mother, for students from underrepresented backgrounds studying mechanical engineering or horology. Anna nodded. How much? Enough to matter. Enough to change lives, not just look good in press releases. I'll fund it personally. $500,000 to start, with annual renewals based on need. The number staggered him. Leah made a small sound. Davi kept his expression steady. Training that goes beyond bias awareness, he continued. Training that includes people like me teaching your staff what it feels like to be constantly suspected, what you lose when you make assumptions. You'd be willing to do that? Anna asked. Not alone, but as part of a team, yes, if it's genuine education, not performance. It will be. Anna made notes on her tablet. What else? Regular community audits. Bring in outside evaluators to measure how different customers are treated. Make the results public. That'll be uncomfortable. Good. Comfort preserves problems. Davi held her gaze. If you're serious about change, you can't hide from data. Anna smiled slightly. You sound like an engineer. I am an engineer. Yes, you are. She finished her notes. I'll have preliminary policy drafts to you within a week. You'll review them. Tell me where I'm missing things, and we'll iterate until we get it right. Why? Leah asked suddenly. Why are you doing this? Really? Anna was quiet for a moment. Because it's right. Because my company failed someone who helped us succeed, and because... She gestured towards the watch. Because I remember my grandmother's hands. The way she touched her jewelry, her books, the things she loved. Memory lives in objects when we care for them properly. Your mother's watch deserves care. You deserved care. We failed, both. I can't fix what happened, but I can prevent it from happening to someone else. The answer satisfied something in Davy. Not completely. He'd learned long ago to verify promises, but enough to move forward. There's something else, he said. Before we go further. Name it. Show me Ms. Vale's office, where she made the decisions that led here. Anna blinked. Why? Because I want to understand what she saw, what information she had access to, what pressures she faced. Davy's voice was thoughtful. I'm angry at her, but I also know that individuals rarely cause systemic failures alone. They operate in contexts that enable or constrain behavior. I want to see her context. The request was unexpected. Generous in a way Anna hadn't anticipated. Most people would want to focus on punishment. Davy wanted to understand system dynamics. All right, she said. Raymond, is Miss Vale still in her office? She left about 20 minutes ago, after I informed her of suspension. Good. Then we can look without disruption. Anna stood. This way. They walked through the workshop to a connecting hallway. Miss Vale's office was modest. Desk, computer, filing cabinets, a window overlooking the street. Photos on the wall showed store events, successful sales, award ceremonies. Everything professional, orderly, unremarkable. Davy moved slowly through the space, not touching anything but observing carefully. He studied the photos, the desk arrangement, the view from the chair where Ms. Vale sat to make decisions. What are you looking for? Leah asked. Pressure points, performance metrics, what she was measured against. Davy gestured toward a framed certificate on the wall. Regional Manager of the Year 2023. She was successful, which means she was doing what the company rewarded. The observation hit Anna hard. You think we incentivized this behavior? I think you incentivized sales and loss prevention. She interpreted that as justification for aggressive gatekeeping. Davy pointed to the computer. Can you show me her performance dashboard? What metrics does she see daily? Anna hesitated, then logged into the management system on Ms. Vale's computer. The dashboard appeared. Sales targets, shrinkage rates, customer service scores, transaction times. There, Davy said, pointing to the shrinkage metric. Loss prevention. She probably convinced herself that suspicion was prudent business practice, that she was protecting company assets. By assuming guilt, Leah said angrily. By assuming risk, Davy corrected, which isn't better, it's just a different rationalization. But understanding the rationalization helps prevent recurrence. He looked at Anna. You need to change what you measure. If managers are evaluated primarily on loss prevention, they'll prioritize suspicion over service. If they're evaluated on equitable access, they'll prioritize differently. Anna stared at the dashboard, seeing it with new eyes. Davy was right. The metrics shaped behavior. She'd approved this dashboard design 2 years ago without considering its implications. I'll revise the performance system, she said. Add equity metrics, customer experience differentiation analysis, anonymous feedback scores. Good start, Davy said. He moved to the window, looking down at the street below. Ms. Vale probably stood here feeling virtuous, protecting your company, doing her job well by her understanding of it. The problem isn't just that she was wrong, it's that the system taught her to be wrong. So you're excusing her? Leah asked. No, she made choices that hurt people. She owns that. Davy turned from the window. But if Anna only fixes Ms. Vale, fires her and moves on, the next manager will face the same incentives. The system will create another Ms. Vale, maybe smarter about hiding it, but fundamentally the same problem. Then we fix both, Anna said. The individual and the system. Ms. Vale faces consequences, and we rebuild the metrics, the training, the culture, everything that enabled her choices. Davy nodded. That's what real accountability looks like. They left Ms. Vale's office. As they walked back toward the workshop, Anna felt the weight of what she'd learned. This wasn't just about sensitivity training or diversity statements. It was about redesigning the fundamental systems that shaped behavior. Measurements, incentives, feedback loops, all the invisible architecture that determined how people acted. Thank you, she said to Davy, for helping me see this more completely. Don't thank me yet, he replied. We're still in the easy part. Diagnosis is simple. Implementation is where most change efforts fail. Then we won't fail, Anna said. Because you're going to hold me accountable, and I'm going to be honest enough to admit when I'm struggling. Deal, Davy said. They returned to the workshop seating area. Leah checked her phone, messages from her parents asking where she was. Davy looked at his watch, his mother's watch, and Anna saw the gesture for what it was, A reminder, a tether to purpose, a promise made tangible. "We should go," Davy said. "Let you handle your board. But I want that written proposal within 48 hours. "You'll have it," Anna promised. "And Davy, I know this doesn't fix what happened, but I hope it's a start." "Hope is good," Davy said quietly, "but follow through is better. Show me follow through, and we'll build something real." Anna extended her hand. Davy shook it. Then Leah. As they left, Anna watched them go. Two people who'd been wronged choosing to invest in repair rather than revenge, choosing to light candles instead of just cursing darkness. She pulled out her phone and made the call to her board chair. "We have a situation," Anna said without preamble, "and we're going to handle it right. Here's what I need from you." Thomas escorted Davy and Leah back to the boutique floor. The space had been cleared as Anna requested. No customers, just Leo behind the counter and Marco adjusting a display. Both men looked up when the elevator doors opened. Leo moved forward immediately. "Mr. Benicio." "Leah, I want to apologize again. I saw what was happening and I should have spoken up sooner." "You spoke up eventually," Davy said. "That matters. It should have been immediate." "Yes." Davy didn't soften the truth. "But immediate would have required courage you're still building. The question is whether you'll have it next time." Leo nodded, looking miserable but determined. "I will. I promise." "Don't promise me. Promise yourself." Davy glanced around the boutique, the marble floors, the gleaming cases, the watches behind glass. "This place sells time, but time only matters if you use it to become better than you were." Marco approached, carrying a small wrapped package. "Señor Benicio, if I may, I took the liberty of photographing your mother's watch, the modifications. With your permission, I'd like to write a technical paper for our internal journal, giving you full credit, of course." Davy hesitated. "Why?" "Because it's beautiful work, because other watchmakers should study it, and because—" Marco's voice dropped. "Because I want everyone here to know exactly who you are, what you're capable of, so this never happens again." The intention was good. Davy could see that. But something in him resisted. He'd spent his career trying to let his work speak for itself, not wanting to be the black engineer or the exceptional one, or any other qualifier that made him specimen rather than colleague. "I'll think about it," he said finally. "Of course." Marco handed him the package. "Inside is something small. Not payment. You don't owe us anything. Just a token. Please look at it later." Davy accepted the package, curious but not wanting to open it in front of everyone. "Thank you." Thomas cleared his throat. "Sir, may I speak with you privately for a moment? Just briefly." Davy glanced at Leah. She nodded. "I'll wait by the door." Thomas led Davy to a quiet corner, near the windows where this had all started hours ago. The afternoon light had softened to early evening gold. The rain had completely cleared. Through the glass, people hurried past on their way home from work, oblivious to the negotiations happening inside. "I wanted you to know something," Thomas said quietly. "I've worked security for 20 years. Retail, corporate, residential. I've seen a lot, and I've been complicit in a lot." He met Davy's eyes. "I've moved people along because my boss told me to. I've enforced policies I knew were applied inconsistently. I've looked the other way when I should have looked closer." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because today was different. Today I almost did the same thing. I was going to take your watch because Ms. Vale said so. Because that's what I do. Follow managerial directives, maintain order, avoid complications." Thomas's jaw tightened. "But then you said something. You said, 'This watch is my mother's voice.' And I heard my own mother in that. She died 2 years ago. I still have her wedding ring. I wear it on a chain under my uniform. He pulled the chain out, showing a simple gold band. If someone tried to take this from me, tried to claim it was fake or stolen, I'd fight. I'd refuse. I'd do exactly what you did. He tucked the ring back. That's when I realized I was about to be the person I'd want to fight, the person standing between someone and their memory. I couldn't do it. Davy felt his throat tighten. Thank you for that, for seeing. I almost didn't. That's what scares me. Thomas looked out the window. I've been trained to see threats, to assess risk, to prioritize security over comfort. And somewhere in that training, I learned to see certain people as higher risk automatically. I didn't think I had. I would have sworn I didn't. But today proved I did. What will you do about it? Learn. Listen. Check myself constantly. Thomas turned back. Ms. Rinaldi asked me to lead protocol revision. I'm going to bring in people who've been on the wrong end of security decisions. Get their input. Make sure we're building systems that protect everyone, not just some people. That's good, Davy said. But be prepared. The pushback will come from inside. Other security professionals will say you're making things too complicated, too permissive. They'll invoke liability and insurance and best practices. I know. Will you hold firm? Thomas thought carefully. I don't know. Honestly, I hope so. But I've folded under pressure before. That's how I got here. By being reliable. By not making waves. He met Davy's eyes again. Can I ask you something? How do you keep doing it? Standing firm when it would be easier to walk away. Davy considered the question. I think about the next person. The teenager who comes in after me. The young professional trying to establish credibility. The elder who deserves respect regardless of appearance. If I walk away, the system stays broken for them. If I stay, maybe it gets a little better. That's a lot of weight to carry. It is, but I don't carry it alone. Davy gestured toward Leah. My cousin is watching, learning. She'll carry it forward, and the people she influences will carry it further. Change is cumulative, generational. No one person fixes everything. We just make it slightly better for whoever comes next. Thomas nodded slowly. I want to be part of that. Making it better. Then be part of it, in how you write policies, in how you train officers, in what you measure and reward. Davy pulled out a business card, his workshop information. And if you need perspective, call me. I'll tell you when you're missing something. Thomas took the card like it was precious. Thank you. I will. They walked back to where Leah waited. She'd been watching through the glass, studying the street outside. When Davy joined her, she pointed to a young black woman passing by, dressed professionally, carrying a briefcase. Do you think she has days like this? Leah asked. Where she has to prove herself over and over? Probably, Davy said. Does it ever get easier? Davy thought of his career. The assumptions, the extra scrutiny, the constant need to be twice as good to be seen as half as capable. It gets familiar. You learn the patterns, develop strategies, build community with others who understand. But easier? Not really. That's depressing. Or realistic. Davy put his arm around her shoulders. The goal isn't to make it easy for you. The goal is to make it possible, to give you tools and support so you can survive it and still thrive. You'll face this your whole life, Leah. In engineering school, in your career, in stores and restaurants and airports. The question isn't whether it'll happen. It's how you'll respond. Like you did? Stay calm and demand better? Sometimes. Other times you walk away because the fight isn't worth it. Other times you document and report. Other times you organize collectively. Davy turned her to face him. There's no single right response. The right response depends on context, stakes, and what you can sustain. But the constant is this. Don't internalize their assumptions. Don't let their limits become yours. Leah's eyes shone with unshed tears. I don't want to be angry all the time. You won't be. You'll be angry sometimes, tired often, but also proud, strong, connected to everyone else fighting the same fight, and occasionally, he smiled slightly, you'll have days like today, where the system actually bends, where accountability happens. Those days sustain you through the others. Did today sustain you? I'll tell you in a month, after I see if Anna follows through. They left the boutique together. Outside, the air was clean and cool. The city felt different somehow. Or maybe Davi felt different. Lighter, despite exhaustion. He'd fought and survived. Maintained. Dignity. Created possibility for change. That was enough for one day. His mother's watch marked time against his wrist. Steady, certain. Carrying her voice forward into whatever came next. 3 days later, Davi received a package. Inside was a bound document. Anna's proposal. 40 pages of policy changes, timelines, budget allocations, responsible parties. Also a handwritten note. David, this is draft 1. I expect you'll find gaps, oversights, and insufficient responses. Tell me. We'll iterate until it's right. Anna Davi made coffee and settled at his workshop bench to read. Leah joined him by video call, reading her own digital copy that Anna had sent. The first section detailed immediate actions. Ms. Vale's termination formalized, severance without NDAs so she could speak freely if she chose. Security protocols under review by external consultants specializing in equitable access. Anonymous reporting system launching within 2 weeks, managed by third-party firm to ensure independence. That's good, Leah said through the screen. Third-party means people might actually use it. Maybe, Davi said. Depends on follow-through. Reporting systems only work if complaints lead to visible action. He continued reading. The scholarship program, Rosa Benicio Engineering Excellence, was funded at $600,000 for the first year, expandable based on applications. Selection committee would include engineers from underrepresented backgrounds, not just HR. Recipients would get mentorship pairing with senior professionals. $600,000, Leah breathed. That's real money. It's marketing budget for them, Davy said. But he felt moved anyway. Real students would benefit. Real doors would open. The cynicism and hope wrestled in his chest. The training section was extensive. External consultants hired, firm with strong reputation for substantive bias work, not corporate box checking. Program would include testimony from people who'd experienced discrimination, role-playing exercises, regular refreshers, not just one-time events. And crucially, completion tied to promotion eligibility. Making it mandatory for advancement, Leah noted. That might actually work. Or it'll make people resentful. Depends on how it's framed. Davy made notes in margins. The framing matters as much as content. He read about equity metrics added to manager evaluations, customer experience differentiation analysis, tracking whether different demographic groups received different service quality, regular audits by outside firms, results published quarterly in corporate transparency reports. Public results, Davy said. That's either brilliant or reckless. Both? Leah suggested. Brilliant because it creates pressure. Reckless because it exposes them to criticism. Good reckless, then. The kind that forces accountability. The final section proposed a special advisory board, diverse voices reviewing policies before implementation, paid consultants, not volunteers, real influence on decision-making. Leah's name appeared as potential youth representative. You're in here, Davy said. I saw. They emailed my parents separately. Official proposal with compensation details. Leah's smile was wide through the screen. Mom almost cried. She said it's more than she makes hourly at the clinic. Will they say yes? They want to meet Anna first. but they're leaning toward yes. They like that it's structured, compensated, with clear boundaries about time commitment. Davy felt pride surge through him. You'll be great at it, asking hard questions, pushing for substance. I learned from watching you. They spent another hour reviewing, Davy marking questions and concerns. Overall, the proposal was more comprehensive than he'd expected. Not perfect, nothing ever was, but serious, substantive, the kind of document that required genuine commitment to produce. He drafted his response, noting strengths and gaps. 3 main concerns. Enforcement mechanisms needed more teeth, timeline for some changes was too slow, and the proposal didn't address supplier-partner expectations. If the boutique changed but suppliers remained biased, problems would persist. He sent the feedback that evening. Anna's response came within an hour. Excellent notes. Enforcement section will be strengthened. I'm bringing in legal to draft clear violation consequences. Timeline acceleration is possible for most items. I'll have revised schedule tomorrow. Supplier standards are brilliant catch I missed. We'll develop vendor code of conduct with equity requirements. More thoughts tomorrow after board meeting. Thank you for this. Davy set down his phone, surprised. He'd expected defensiveness or delay. Instead, acknowledgement, rapid incorporation, gratitude. Maybe she meant it. Maybe this wasn't performance. His mother's watch ticked against his wrist. He thought of her hands, her patience with him when he was young and impatient for justice. Change is slow, Davy. But slow isn't nothing. Small steps compound. Don't despise slow if it's genuine. He picked up tools and returned to his work. A client's chronograph needed regulation. Timing was running fast, gaining 12 seconds daily. Tedious work. Precise adjustments to the balance wheel, checking and rechecking until the rhythm stabilized. Like justice work, he thought. Tedious. Precise. Requiring patience and constant checking. But possible. Always possible if you refuse to stop adjusting. His hands moved with practiced certainty. Outside, evening deepened tonight. Inside, the workshop filled with the quiet tick of various watches, each one marking time in its own rhythm, all of them part of the same endless song. The board meeting happened the next afternoon. Anna had invited Davy to attend remotely if he wanted. Observation only, no obligation to speak. He'd declined, not wanting to be specimen or symbol, but she'd asked him to be available afterward for questions. She called at 6 p.m., her voice carrying exhaustion. How'd it go? Davy asked. Mixed. 3 board members are fully supportive. 2 are concerned about costs. 1 thinks we're overreacting. Anna's frustration was audible. The one who thinks we're overreacting used the phrase isolated incident. I almost threw my laptop at him. But you didn't. No. I educated him instead. Showed him the data on retail discrimination. Walked through specific examples. Asked him to imagine being suspected every time he shopped. She paused. He didn't love it. But he didn't block anything either. So you have approval? I have approval for Phase 1. Full implementation. Budget allocated. Timeline approved with your suggested accelerations. The vendor code of conduct will take longer. We have contracts to review, legal complications, but we'll start. Davy felt tension. He didn't know he'd been carrying finally release. That's good. Real progress. It's a start. Anna's voice softened. I also spoke with the family, the woman who was recording. She agreed to be part of our training program, sharing her perspective, talking about why she chose to document. Her voice will be powerful. Did you pay her? Yes. Consulting fee for her time and expertise. She was surprised I offered. Said most companies would try to bury her. Most companies would. Well, we're not going to. She's part of the story now. Her witness matters. Anna cleared her throat. There's something else. The special edition watch. The Rosa Benicio commemorative. I have the prototype design. Would you and Leah be willing to review it? Make sure we're honoring your mother properly?" Davy hesitated. Part of him wanted to refuse, keep his mother's memory private, not commercialized. But another part recognized the opportunity. Her name on watches worn by people committed to dignity and craft. Her legacy visible, tangible, spreading beyond family into world. "Send the designs," he said. "We'll look." "Thank you. And Davy, one more thing. I'd like to do a small ceremony when your mother's watch is ready. When we return it after service. Something low-key but meaningful. A chance for staff to meet you properly, to learn directly from you. Would you consider it?" "Who would be there?" "Workshop staff, management, some of the people involved in that day. Anyone who wants to attend. No press, no publicity, just internal. A chance to make repair real, not just policy level." Davy thought about it. The idea of returning to that space, facing those people, was unappealing, but also maybe necessary. Completion, closure, demonstration that repair was possible if people chose it. "I'll think about it," he said. "Let me know when the watch is ready. We'll decide then." "Fair enough." Anna's relief was audible. "Thank you for staying engaged with this. I know it's exhausting." "It is, but necessary." Davy glanced at his workbench, at the watches waiting for attention. "Everything worth doing is exhausting. That's how you know it matters." They ended the call. Davy sat for a moment in the quiet of his workshop, feeling the weight of what they were building. Not perfect, not finished, but real, tangible, moving from intention to implementation. His phone buzzed. Text from Leah. "Mom and Dad said yes to advisory board. They want to meet Anna next week. Can you come?" Davy smiled and typed back. "Wouldn't miss it." He returned to his work. The chronograph regulation was done. Timing now precise within 2 seconds daily. He moved to the next project, a pocket watch with damaged escapement. Delicate work, patient work, the kind that required full attention. His mother's voice whispered through memory. "The work teaches you everything you need to know. Patience, precision, respect for what came before while making it work for what comes next." She'd been talking about watches, but also about life, about justice, about the long work of repair that never quite finished but always mattered. Davy's hands moved with practiced certainty. Outside, the city continued its rhythm. Inside, time marked itself in ticks and adjustments, each one small, each one building toward something larger. He worked until midnight, until his eyes strained and his back ached. Then he cleaned his tools, locked the workshop, and walked home through streets that still challenged him sometimes but couldn't diminish him. Not anymore. His mother's watch kept time against his wrist. Steady, certain, carrying her forward into whatever came next. The design files arrived 2 days later. Anna had sent them with another note. "These are preliminary. Change anything. The goal is honoring Rosa, not selling watches." Davy opened the files at his workshop. Leah joined via video call again, both of them studying the renderings. The watch was beautiful, clearly inspired by his mother's original but refined with modern techniques. The case was slightly larger, accommodating an updated movement. The dial maintained the classic design but with improved legibility. The hands were elegant, blued steel catching light. But what made Davy's breath catch was the case back. Exhibition crystal showing the movement, his micro-chamfer geometry visible, working. And engraved around the crystal's edge in delicate script, Rosa Benicio, 1965–2024. Time honored with grace. "That's her birthday," Leah whispered, "and the year she died. They researched it." Davy felt emotion rise in his throat. They cared enough to get it right. The movement itself was exquisite. Modern materials, updated engineering, but respecting classical aesthetics. The balance wheel showed the anti-resonance geometry he and Anna had developed together. Each bridge was finished with Côte de Genève, the traditional decoration his mother had loved. "It's beautiful," Leah said. "She would have loved it." Davi thought of his mother's hands, her quiet pride when she wore her watch. She'd never been ostentatious, never showed off, but she'd loved knowing she carried something well-made, something that would last. This watch embodied that philosophy: quality without flash, substance over show. "I have some small changes," he said, pulling up annotation tools. "The crown should be slightly larger, easier to operate, and I'd like to see a different finish on the case, brushed rather than polished, more practical for daily wear." He made notes, sent them back to Anna with approval contingent on revisions. Her response came within minutes. "Perfect feedback. Revisions will be done this week. Thank you for trusting us with this." The next day, Anna called with an update. "The first scholarship recipients have been selected, 5 students, full rides to engineering programs. I'd like you to meet them. Video call, not public. Just a chance for them to hear your story, ask questions. Would you be willing?" "What would I tell them?" "Whatever you want. Your path to engineering. Challenges you've faced. How you maintain dignity under pressure." Anna paused. "They're all from underrepresented backgrounds. First-generation college students. They're going to face what you've faced. Your perspective could help." Davi thought about it. He wasn't a motivational speaker, wasn't sure he had wisdom to impart. But he remembered being young, uncertain, wondering if he belonged in engineering spaces. Maybe his experience could help someone else navigate that uncertainty. "Okay," he said. "Set it up." The call happened that weekend. 5 faces on screen. 3 young women, 2 young men. Diverse backgrounds, different regions, all heading to competitive engineering programs in the fall. Anna introduced Davi briefly, then stepped back. "Hi," Davi said, feeling awkward. "I'm not great at speeches, so maybe just ask me questions?" The questions came slowly at first, then faster. About his education, about watchmaking, about facing discrimination, about maintaining confidence when others questioned your abilities, about whether it got easier. "No," Davi said honestly, answering that last one. "It doesn't get easier. You just get stronger, more strategic, better at choosing which battles to fight and which to walk away from." "But how do you know which is which?" one of the young women asked. Her name was Jasmine, heading to Georgia Tech. "I'm afraid I'll pick wrong. Fight when I should walk away, or walk away when I should fight." "You will pick wrong sometimes," Davi said. "Everyone does. The key is learning from it, adjusting, developing intuition about stakes, about what's worth the cost." "What if I'm not strong enough?" another student asked, Marcus, heading to Cornell. "What if I face something like what you faced and I just leave?" "Then you leave. And that's okay." Davi held his gaze through the screen. Leaving isn't failure. Sometimes it's wisdom, sometimes survival. The goal isn't to fight every battle. It's to survive long enough to pick the battles that matter most. They talked for an hour. By the end, the students were more relaxed, laughing sometimes, clearly feeling seen. When the call ended, Anna stayed on. "That was perfect," she said. "Exactly what they needed. Not inspiration porn cheerleading, just honesty. Real talk about real challenges. I just answered their questions. You gave them permission to be human, to struggle, to make mistakes, to choose self-preservation sometimes. That's rare. Most mentorship is about being exceptional. You told them being enough is enough." Davy thought about that. "My mother used to say, you don't have to be superhuman to deserve dignity. Being human is sufficient." "Smart woman," Anna said softly. "We're naming the scholarship after the right person." After the call, Davi sat in his workshop, feeling oddly energized. The students' questions had made him think about his own journey, his choices, what he'd learned. Maybe he did have something to offer. Not as exceptional example, but as fellow traveler through difficult terrain. His phone buzzed. Text from Jasmine. "Thank you for being real with us. I was scared I couldn't do this. Your honesty helped more than you know." Then from Marcus. "You said survival is enough. I needed to hear that. Thank you." 3 more messages came from the other students. All grateful, all feeling less alone. Davi read them twice, feeling something shift in his chest. He'd spent so long focused on his own survival, his own battles. But maybe sharing the fight made it lighter for everyone. Maybe community was armor too. His mother's watch ticked steadily. He thought of her teaching him patience, dignity, grace under pressure. She'd been teaching him for others too, he realized, preparing him not just to survive, but to help others survive. The work was bigger than one boutique, bigger than one company's policies. It was about every person who'd walk into spaces where they weren't expected. Every student heading to competitive programs. Every professional fighting for credibility. Every elder demanding respect. Davi couldn't fix it all. No one could. But he could light candles. Small lights that others could use to light their own, until the darkness had less room to hide. He picked up his tools and returned to work, feeling his mother's presence like warmth against his back. 2 weeks later, Raymond called. "Your mother's watch is ready. The work is complete. We've tested it extensively. Timing is perfect. All functions operating smoothly. It's better than new." "When can I pick it up?" "Whenever you'd like, but—" Raymond hesitated. "Ms. Rinaldi wanted me to ask again about the ceremony. Just a small gathering. A chance to do this right. Would you reconsider?" Davi looked at Leah, who was visiting his workshop that afternoon. She nodded encouragement. "Okay," Davi said. "But keep it small and genuine. If it feels like performance, I'm leaving. Understood. How about next Saturday? Midday in the workshop. Just staff and a few people who've been involved in the policy changes. Maybe 30 people maximum." 30 feels like a lot. "We have 140 employees across 3 shifts. 30 is small." Raymond's voice was gentle. "People want to be there. They want to understand what happened. They want to learn." Davi sighed. "Fine. Saturday. But I'm bringing Leah and my uncle and aunt, her parents. They should see this too." "Of course. Family is welcome." Saturday arrived cold but sunny. Davy dressed carefully, not a suit. He refused to perform formality he didn't feel, but clean slacks and a button-down. Respect without capitulation. Leah wore a dress her mother had helped her choose, looking older than 16 but not trying too hard. Uncle Miguel and Aunt Teresa drove them. Both were nervous. Miguel worked in construction, Teresa in a medical clinic. Luxury boutiques weren't their usual territory, but they were proud, supporting their daughter and nephew in this strange navigation. The boutique had been transformed. The main floor was empty of merchandise, chairs arranged in loose rows facing a small platform. As they entered, Leo approached immediately. "Mr. Benicio, family, thank you for coming." He looked at Davi. "I've been looking forward to this, to getting it right." "We'll see," Davi said, but not unkindly. Thomas appeared, now wearing business casual instead of uniform. "Good to see you again. And this must be Leah's parents. I'm Thomas Reed, security director." "Teresa Benicio." Leah's mother shook his hand firmly. "You're the one who stopped the confiscation?" "I am." "Thank you." Teresa's voice was emotional. "For seeing my nephew. For choosing right." Thomas looked uncomfortable with the gratitude. "I almost didn't. That's what haunts me." "Almost doesn't matter," Miguel said. "What matters is what you did." They were guided upstairs to the workshop. Chairs were arranged semicircle style around the workbenches. Maybe 40 people present. Anna had said 30, but this was slightly more. Still manageable. Davi recognized Marco, Leo, Thomas, Raymond. Others were unfamiliar. Workshop staff, management, people from other departments. Anna stood near the windows. When she saw them arrive, she crossed immediately. Davy, Leah, Mr. and Mrs. Benicio, thank you for coming. She shook everyone's hands. I know this is uncomfortable. I appreciate your willingness to be here anyway. Where's the watch? Davy asked. Here. Anna gestured to a table near the center. On a velvet cushion sat his mother's watch, gleaming. Beside it was the new commemorative edition, equally beautiful. We'll get to both, but first, if you're willing, I'd like to frame what we're doing here. Davy nodded. They took seats in the front row. Anna moved to stand where everyone could see her. 3 weeks ago, Anna began, something happened in this building that should never happen. A customer, a partner, came seeking service and was met with suspicion, obstacles, and discrimination. What should have been a routine transaction became an examination of our values, our systems, our commitment to treating everyone with dignity. She didn't soften it, didn't use corporate language, just named what happened clearly. Davi Benicio came here to have his mother's watch serviced, a watch that represents memory, loss, love made tangible, and we failed him. Not just as individuals, but as a system. Our policies enabled discrimination. Our metrics rewarded gatekeeping. Our culture didn't prevent bias from becoming action. Davy watched faces in the audience. Some looked uncomfortable, others nodded. A few seemed confused, as if unsure why they were here. Today is about accountability, Anna continued. Not performance, not PR. Genuine accountability that names failure, commits to repair, and demonstrates change through action. She gestured toward Davy. Davy didn't have to stay engaged with us. He could have sued, spoken to press, walked away and let us fail. Instead, he chose to invest in making us better. That choice is generous. It's not owed, it's given, and we need to honor it by following through. She detailed the changes implemented. Policy revisions, training redesign, equity metrics, anonymous reporting, the scholarship program, vendor standards under development, all of it specific, time-bound, measurable. But policy only matters if it becomes practice, Anna said. If it changes how we show up daily, how we see people, how we check our assumptions, that's harder than writing policies. It requires constant attention, constant willingness to be uncomfortable. She paused, looking around the room. Some of you witnessed what happened. Some heard about it later. All of you are part of this system, which means all of you have responsibility to ensure it doesn't happen again, not just to Davi, but to anyone who walks through our doors. A hand went up. Young woman in the back, workshop apron. Anna nodded at her. What if we see it happening, but we're not in a position to stop it? Like if a manager is doing it? You report it, immediately, through the anonymous system or directly to me, and you're protected from retaliation. That's policy now, with teeth. Anyone who retaliates faces termination. Anna's voice was firm. I need you all to understand. Speaking up is not just permitted, it's expected. Silence is complicity. Another hand, older man, looked like management. What about false reports? People using the system vindictively? We investigate every report thoroughly. If it's false or vindictive, there are consequences for that too, but… Anna's gaze sharpened. Statistically, false reports are rare, much rarer than the real discrimination that goes unreported because people fear exactly the question you just asked. So we're going to err on the side of taking concerns seriously. The room settled. Anna gestured to Raymond, who came forward carrying Davy's mother's watch on its cushion. Davy, would you join me? Anna asked. Davy stood, feeling suddenly exposed. Leah squeezed his hand before he moved forward. He stood beside Anna, facing the assembled staff. "This watch," Anna said, holding it up, "belonged to Rosa Benicio. She wore it for 20 years. When she died, her son inherited it. Not just the metal and mechanics, but the memory it carries. Every moment she checked the time, every day she wore it close to her heart, is recorded in this object. That's what watches do. They mark time, but they also hold time. Make it tangible." She handed the watch to Davy. He took it, feeling its familiar weight, and something in his chest eased. Home. Returned. Safe. "We've serviced it completely," Anna continued. "Cleaned, regulated, repaired where needed. But more than that, we've learned from it. From what it represents. From what it meant to Davy and to Rosa. Watches aren't just products. They're relationships, stories. They deserve care. And so do the people who carry them." Davy turned the watch over, checking the case back. The engraving was there, DBXAR 2024. Polished now, clear. His work and Anna's together. Partnership born from crisis, but maybe becoming something real. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for treating it properly. Finally. It's what we should have done from the beginning." Anna picked up the second watch, the commemorative edition. "And this is why we're not just apologizing. This is the first Rosa Benicio special edition. 20 will be made, each one incorporating the anti-resonance geometry Davy developed. Each one engraved with his mother's name and years. Each one a reminder that excellence comes from everywhere and deserves recognition everywhere." She handed it to Davy. He held both watches now, his mother's original and this new tribute. The weight was different, but the meaning similar. Memory preserved, legacy honored, time marked with grace. "Proceeds from these watches fund the Rosa Benicio Engineering Scholarship," Anna said to the room. 5 students this year, more next year. Young people who might not otherwise access competitive programs getting full support. That's Rosa's legacy now, and Davy's, and ours, if we maintain it. Applause started. Genuine, not performative. Davy felt overwhelmed suddenly. Leah's parents were crying quietly. Miguel had his arm around Teresa. Leah herself was standing, clapping hard, her face fierce with pride. "Does anyone have questions for Davy?" Anna asked. "Things you want to understand about what happened or what you can do differently?" Silence for a moment. Then Marco stood. "Señor Benicio, what should I have done? When I saw you waiting, being ignored, I noticed but I didn't act. What would you have wanted from me?" Davy thought carefully. "Acknowledgement. Even simple eye contact and a nod would have told me I was seen as human. Or you could have asked if someone was helping me. Small acts that signal. You belong here. Your presence matters." "I'll do that now, always," Marco said. Leo stood next. "I apologized for calling security. I should have—" "You already apologized," Davy interrupted gently. "What I want now is your commitment to the future, to seeing the next person, to speaking up immediately, not after calculation." "You have it," Leo said. A young woman in back, the one who'd asked about reporting, stood. "I'm black. I work in the workshop. I've felt noticed differently, like people watch me more closely, check my work more thoroughly. After today, I wanted to say, thank you, for staying, for fighting. It matters to me personally." Davy felt his throat close. "What's your name?" "Simone." "Thank you, Simone, for telling me, for staying too." He looked around the room. "That's what this is really about. Not just me. Everyone who comes after. Everyone who shouldn't have to fight just to be treated fairly. We're trying to make it slightly better for you. For all the Simones." The ceremony continued another 30 minutes. Questions, commitments, discussion. When it ended, people approached Davy individually. Some apologized. Others thanked him. A few just shook his hand, no words needed. Marco pulled him aside. The paper I mentioned, about your mother's watch modifications, I've written it. Would you review it before submission? Yes. Send it to me. And there's something else. Marco pulled out a small box. Inside was a watchmaking tool, a specialized screwdriver, clearly handmade, the handle inlaid with exotic wood. This belonged to my grandfather. He taught me the craft. I'd like you to have it, as colleague, as friend. Davi felt emotion rise again. Marco, I can't. Please, it should be used by someone who understands what it represents, someone who honors the craft properly. Davi accepted the tool, its weight perfect in his hand. Thank you. I'll use it well. As they prepared to leave, Anna stopped him. One more thing? Private? In my office? Davi nodded. They stepped into a small office off the workshop. Simple, functional. Anna closed the door. I wanted you to have this before it's public. She handed him a folder. The audit results. First equity assessment of our retail operations. Completed by external firm. Anonymous customer surveys, mystery shopping, service time analysis. All of it. Davi opened the folder. The data was damning. Clear patterns of differential treatment based on appearance. Longer wait times for customers of color. More scrutiny of identification. Fewer proactive assistance offers. Statistical significance across multiple locations. This is bad, he said. It is, which is why I'm releasing it publicly next week, alongside our remediation plans. Anna met his eyes. I want you to see it first, to verify I'm not sugarcoating, to hold me accountable if the response is insufficient. Davi read through the report carefully. The methodology was sound, the conclusions justified, and Anna's response plan, outlined in the final section, was comprehensive. Aggressive timeline, specific interventions, public quarterly updates. This is good, he said. Hard but good. You'll take heat for releasing it. Good. Heat means people are paying attention. Attention means pressure for follow-through. Anna took a breath. Davy, I need you to know, this isn't about avoiding lawsuits or bad press. Those are benefits, sure, but that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because you're right. My company failed, and if I don't fix the failure completely, systematically, then I've failed too, as a leader, as a person. I believe you, Davy said, and surprisingly, he did. Keep going. Don't stop when it gets uncomfortable. That's when the real work happens. I won't stop. Anna extended her hand. Thank you. For everything. For staying. For pushing. For helping us become better. Davi shook her hand. Thank you for listening. For following through. It's rarer than it should be. They left the boutique together. Davi, Leah, Miguel, Teresa. Outside, the winter sun was bright and cold. Davi strapped his mother's watch onto his wrist, feeling it settle into familiar place. Home, safe, honored. Leah linked her arm through his. That was powerful. It was hard, Davy corrected. Hard and powerful. Leah looked up at him. Grandma would be proud. She would be proud of you. You're going to change the world, Leah. We're going to change it, together. One watch, one policy, one person at a time. They walked to Miguel's car, carrying 2 watches and 1 tool and multiple promises into whatever came next. The work wasn't finished. Might never be finished. But it was moving. Growing. Lighting candles that others would carry forward. Davy's mother's watch marked each step. Steady. Certain. Alive. The public release of the audit report happened the following Tuesday. Anna published it through corporate channels with a lengthy statement, naming failures, accepting responsibility, detailing remediation. She didn't bury it in press release jargon. She made it front-page news on their website. Davy watched the response unfold through social media and news coverage. Initial reaction was mixed. Some praised the transparency, others claimed it was admission of systemic discrimination that warranted lawsuits. Industry peers were nervous, wondering if they'd face similar scrutiny. But what surprised Davy was the depth of public support. Customers shared their own stories of differential treatment at various retailers. Employees at other companies spoke up anonymously about similar patterns. The conversation expanded beyond one boutique to entire industries. 3 days after release, Anna called. "We've had 17 formal complaints filed through the new system, 17 different incidents across multiple locations, most from employees, some from customers. That's a lot. That's a lot we didn't know about before. That's the system working." Anna sounded tired but determined. "We're investigating every single one. 2 managers have already been suspended. 1 is likely getting terminated. I'm bringing in additional external support for investigation management. How are you holding up?" "Honestly, I'm exhausted, angry at what we're finding, but also relieved that it's finally visible, that we're addressing it rather than pretending it doesn't exist." She paused. "How are you doing? With all the attention?" Davy thought about the messages he'd received. Some supportive, some angry, some requesting interviews he'd declined. "Managing. Mostly staying offline. Focusing on my work." "Smart. But I wanted you to know. The scholarship applications are incredible. Over 500 so far, from students all over the country. The selection committee is overwhelmed in the best way." 500? The story resonated. Kids who've faced similar treatment, who've doubted their belonging, they see hope in this. In Rosa's name attached to opportunity. Anna's voice softened. "Your mother's legacy is bigger than either of us imagined." After the call, Davy sat in his workshop processing that. 500 students, 500 young people who needed what Leah needed. Confirmation that excellence mattered, that dignity was inherent, that doors could open. His phone buzzed. Text from Jasmine, the Georgia Tech student. "Just saw the news. Thank you for not letting this go, for fighting. You changed things for all of us." Then Marcus. "The audit report is being discussed in my engineering orientation program. They're using it as case study in ethical decision-making. Your story is teaching people." More messages came from the other scholarship recipients, all grateful, all feeling less alone, all carrying forward the light Davy had tried to maintain. He responded to each one, keeping it simple. "Keep going. Be excellent. Be kind. Light candles for whoever comes after you." That became his standard response to the flood of messages that followed. Short, honest, focused on forward motion rather than past grievance. 2 weeks later, a large package arrived at his workshop. Inside was a framed certificate. The first Rosa Benicio Special Edition watch had been sold. Proceeds, $47,000, split between the scholarship fund and the organization supporting young engineers. A note from Anna. 19 more to come. Your mother's name is traveling, teaching, opening doors. Thank you for trusting us with her memory." Anna Davy hung the certificate on his workshop wall. First thing he'd ever framed. It felt right beside his tools, his workbench, the space where he honored craft daily. His mother's legacy was alive, growing, becoming something larger than personal memory, transforming into collective movement. One watch had become many. One story had sparked thousands. One stand for dignity had rippled outward. Not revolution, just steady, patient work. The kind his mother had always done. The kind that compounded slowly into change. Davy picked up Marco's tool, the one gifted with such care, and examined it under magnification. The craftsmanship was exquisite. 3 generations of watchmakers had held this tool. Now he was 4th. part of a lineage that stretched backward into past and forward into future. He thought of Leah at MIT, of Simone in the workshop, of Jasmine, Marcus, and the 3 other scholarship recipients, of the 500 applicants carrying dreams forward, of every young person who'd heard this story and decided, I belong, I matter, I'll demand dignity too. One person couldn't fix everything, but one person could light a candle, and candles, properly tended, spread light to light to light until darkness had less room to hide. Davi returned to his work, his mother's watch steady on his wrist, the tool in his hand, the story still unfolding, the work continuing. Outside, the world turned, indifferent, challenging, full of possibility. Inside, time marked itself in careful precision, each tick a promise, each adjustment a prayer, each repair an act of faith that broken things could become whole if someone cared enough to try. His hands moved with practiced certainty. The work continued. 6 weeks after the ceremony, Davy stood in his workshop staring at an email that made his stomach tighten. The subject line read, Concerns about Rosa Benicio program. The sender was a journalist from a business magazine. The email was polite but pointed. Allegations that the scholarship program was performative diversity theater, that Anna was using Rosa's name for reputation management, that real change wasn't happening behind the scenes. Davi read it twice. Then called Anna. Did you see the article draft? He asked, without preamble. Just got it 20 minutes ago. Anna's voice was strained. It's based on anonymous employee complaints, claims the training is superficial, that managers are gaming the equity metrics, that nothing's actually changed. Is it true? Some of it. Anna didn't dodge. 2 locations have shown resistance. Managers doing the minimum, checking boxes without engaging substance. I'm addressing it, but she paused. I can't fix 50 retail locations overnight. Some are changing genuinely. Others are performing compliance. It's messier than I wanted. Davi felt exhaustion wash over him. This was the predictable part. The backlash. The questions about whether any of it mattered. The temptation to walk away and let them fail without him. What do you want from me? He asked. Honestly? I don't know. You don't owe me anything. If you want to tell the journalist it's all fake, you'd be justified. Some of it is fake. Not intentionally, but fake nonetheless because culture change is slow and incomplete. But some of it is real? Yes. Some locations have transformed. The scholarship is real. 5 kids heading. To college who wouldn't have otherwise. The audit system is catching problems. Simone in the workshop got promoted to lead technician. Thomas completely rewrote security protocols and they're working. Anna's voice steadied. It's both. Real change and insufficient change. Progress and resistance. I can't pretend it's perfect. Davy walked to his window, looking out at the street below. People passing, each carrying their own battles. He thought about Leah, now finalizing MIT plans, about Jasmine and Marcus and the other scholarship students, about Simone becoming lead technician. Real change, imperfect change, but change nonetheless. I'll tell the journalist the truth, Davy said, that it's complicated, that some change is real and some is performance. That perfect was never the goal. Better was the goal, and better is happening, even if it's not universal. That might not satisfy them. They want a clean narrative, either hero or villain. Life isn't clean narratives. Davy turned from the window. And I'm not interested in making their story easier. I'm interested in truth. Messy, incomplete truth. Thank you, Anna said quietly, for staying nuanced, for not giving up on us. After they hung up, Davi drafted his response to the journalist. He didn't sugarcoat, acknowledged the resistance, named the incomplete implementation, but also detailed the genuine progress, specific examples, measurable outcomes, voices of people whose lives had changed. He ended with, "Change is generational, not quarterly. Judge them in 5 years, not 5 months. If they're still doing the work, then it's real. If they've moved on to the next PR campaign, it was performance. Time will tell." The article published 2 weeks later. It was balanced, neither condemning nor praising, presenting the complexity fairly. Some readers called Anna's efforts insufficient. Others praised the transparency. Most seemed to understand that real change was messy. But what hit Davi hardest was an email from Simone, the workshop technician. "Mr. Benizio, I read the article. I wanted you to know. My promotion is real. I'm leading a team now, training apprentices. And last week I had a young black man come in for service. I watched to see how my team treated him. They were perfect, respectful, efficient, no extra scrutiny. When I thanked them, they said Thomas's training changed how they see their jobs, not as gatekeepers, as facilitators. That's real change, Mr. Benicio. Your fight made my work environment better. Please don't give up on us." Davi read it 3 times, felt something shift in his chest. Not relief exactly, more like renewed commitment. The work wasn't finished, might never be finished. But it was moving. People were learning. Systems were adjusting. He called Leah that evening. "I'm tired," he admitted. "Of watching, of checking, of wondering if it's real or performance." "Then stop watching so close," Leah said. "You planted seeds. Let them grow. Check back periodically, but stop hovering. You have your own life to live." "When did you get so wise?" "I learned from my cousin. He taught me that dignity isn't just fighting. It's also knowing when to rest." Leah's voice softened. "Rest, Davy. You've earned it. The work continues whether you're watching or not." She was right. Davy had been carrying this so tightly, afraid that if he loosened his grip, the whole thing would collapse. But maybe that was arrogance. Maybe the work was bigger than him now. Maybe his job was to light the candle and trust others to carry it forward. His mother's watch ticked steadily. He thought of her hands, her patience with slow growth. She'd planted a garden every spring, never expecting to see everything bloom in one season. She'd trusted time, trusted process, trusted that good work compounded slowly into harvest. Davy decided to trust too, not blindly. He'd still check, still hold Anna accountable, but with less urgency, less fear, more faith in the systems they'd built and the people who'd committed to maintaining them. He returned to his workbench and picked up a project he'd been neglecting, a complicated pocket watch restoration for a client. Work that required his full attention, work that reminded him what he was actually good at, not fighting institutions, not being a symbol, just being an engineer who understood precision, patience, and the long work of repair. His hands moved with practiced certainty. Outside, winter deepened. Inside, time marked itself in careful adjustments. The work continued. Spring arrived slowly. Davy noticed it first in the light. Softer, lasting longer into evening. Then in the workshop temperature, no longer requiring heat through the afternoon. Then in Leah's excitement as MIT acceptance became real, not just possibility. "I'm actually going," she said during one of their calls. "Full scholarship. Summer orientation in June. I can't believe it." "I can," Davy said. "You earned it. Because you fought. Because Grandma's name opened this door." Leah's voice caught. "I wish she could see it." "She sees it," Davy said. "Somehow, somewhere. She sees you carrying her forward." Anna called that week with an update. 9-month review is complete. External auditors assessed our progress. Want to see the report before I release it? How bad is it? Mixed. Substantial progress in some areas. Insufficient in others. 3 locations are being flagged for intensive intervention. 1 manager was terminated. But overall trajectory is positive. We're moving the right direction, just not as fast as I'd like. Send it to me. The report arrived that evening. Davy read it carefully, marking sections. Anna was right. Mixed results. Customer service differentiation had improved in most locations, but persisted in some. Anonymous reporting system was being used heavily. Sign of trust, but also sign of ongoing problems. Training showed impact in knowledge, but variable impact in behavior. But what stood out was the section on the scholarship program. 5 students thriving in their first semester. Applications for next year were up to 800. The Rosa Benicio name had become synonymous with access and excellence. That was unambiguously good. Davy wrote his assessment and sent it back to Anna. Progress is real, but incomplete. Keep pressure on resistant locations. Celebrate successes publicly. Positive reinforcement matters. And don't let this become background noise. Sustained attention is what separates genuine change from temporary performance. Anna's response? Exactly what I needed to hear. Public release next week. Thank you for staying engaged. But Davy was feeling tension he couldn't quite name. Part of him wanted to stay engaged, keep watching, keep checking, keep holding Anna accountable. But another part wanted to move on, to focus on his work, to let go of this weight. He called his Uncle Miguel to talk through it. You sound tired, Sobrino, Miguel said. Not just body tired, soul tired. I am. I don't know if I should keep doing this, the speaking, the monitoring, all of it. What does your heart say? My heart says I want my life back. I want to be a watchmaker, to work in peace, to not carry this responsibility. Then let it go. But what if they backslide? What if I stop watching and everything falls apart? Miguel was quiet for a moment. Davy, you're not Atlas. You don't hold up the sky, you lit a candle. You showed one company a better way. But you're not responsible for maintaining it forever. That's their job now. Your job is to live your life. But what about all the people who'll come after? Who'll face what I faced? They'll have your example, your story, the systems you helped build. That's enough. You're not required to sacrifice yourself indefinitely to justify their dignity. Their dignity is inherent, remember? Not dependent on your constant vigilance. The words hit deep. Davy realized he'd been operating from a place of fear. Fear that if he stepped back, everything would collapse, and it would be his fault. But Miguel was right. He'd done his part, more than his part. The work was bigger than him now. I need to think about this, Davy said. Think about it. Pray about it if you still do that. But mostly forgive yourself for being human, for having limits, for needing rest. Miguel's voice gentled. Your mother wouldn't want you burning out over this. She'd want you living, creating, building your own life, not just fixing others' failures. After the call, Davy sat with that. His mother's voice came back to him, not memory exactly, more like presence. You did good, Philo. You did enough. Now do what brings you joy. What brought him joy? Watches, teaching occasionally, time with Leah, his workshop's quiet focus, the satisfaction of repair work done well, small things, quiet things, not fighting institutions or being a symbol. Davy made a decision. He'd continue light oversight of Anna's company, quarterly check-ins, reviewing audit reports, being available if major issues arose. But he'd decline most speaking requests. He'd focus on his workshop, maybe take on an apprentice. He'd build the life his mother had wanted for him, one centered on craft, community, and peace. He wrote to Anna explaining his decision. Her response came quickly. I understand completely. You've given us more than we deserved. The foundation is built. We'll maintain it. Thank you for everything. And please know, your mother's scholarship will continue regardless. That's permanent. Her legacy is secure. Anna. Then a message from Leah. I'm proud of you, for fighting and for knowing when to rest. That's wisdom, cuz. Real wisdom. Davy felt something release in his chest. Not relief exactly, more like rightness. This was the correct path. He'd done what he could. Time to trust others to carry it forward. His mother's watch ticked steadily. He looked at it. This object that had started everything. This tether to memory that had demanded dignity and received it. Not perfectly, not completely, but substantially. Enough. He picked up his tools and returned to work. A client's chronograph needed adjustment. The pusher mechanism was sticking. Delicate work requiring patience and precision. Work he was actually good at. His hands moved with practiced certainty. Outside, spring continued its slow arrival. Inside, time marked itself in careful adjustments. The work continued. Different work now, more personal, but continuous nonetheless. Davy worked until sunset painted his workshop gold. Then he cleaned his tools, locked the door, and walked home through streets that still challenged him sometimes but couldn't diminish him. Not anymore. His mother's watch kept time against his wrist, steady, certain, alive. Summer arrived with heat that made the workshop uncomfortable. Davy installed a better fan and adjusted his schedule, early mornings and late evenings when temperature was manageable. It gave him time during afternoon heat to walk, think, exist without purpose. One afternoon in June, he stopped by the boutique, unannounced, just curious. The visit felt different this time. No tension, no fear, just casual check-in. Leo was at the counter. His face lit up when he saw Davy. "Mr. Benicio, what a surprise. How are you?" "Good. Just passing by. Thought I'd see how things are." "They're good. Really good." Leo gestured around the space. "New training rolled out last month. It's actually effective. Not just lectures, but practice. Role-playing difficult scenarios. It's made a difference." "That's good to hear." Thomas appeared from the back. He'd been promoted, head of customer experience now, expanded role beyond security. "Davy, good to see you. You here for service?" "Just visiting." "Come see the workshop. We've made changes you should see." Davy followed Thomas upstairs. The workshop had expanded. More workbenches, more staff. Marco was training 2 apprentices, one of them Simone. She looked up when they entered. "Mr. Benicio." She set down her tools and approached. "I wanted to thank you again. For everything. I'm training apprentices now, making sure they learn respect alongside technique." "That's perfect," Davy said. "That's exactly right." Marco joined them. "Senor, the paper about your mother's watch, it published, in our technical journal, and other watchmakers are asking about the technique. You're influencing the field." Davy felt surprised pride, his work spreading beyond personal repair into broader practice. That felt right. Like his mother's memory teaching others, not just marking his own grief. They talked for 20 minutes. About techniques, about training, about the culture shifts happening slowly but visibly. When Davy prepared to leave, Raymond appeared. "Davy, before you go." Raymond pulled out a folder. "The second Rosa Benicio Special Edition. We're refining the design based on feedback from the first 20 pieces. Would you review?" Davy opened the folder. The new design was even more refined. Subtle improvements that honored his mother's aesthetic while incorporating modern advances. Beautiful work. "It's excellent," he said. "You're honoring her well." "We're trying. She deserves it." Raymond paused. "And Davy, I wanted you to know. The scholarship has become our flagship program. Other companies are copying it. We've had 7 inquiries about how we structured it. Your mother's name is literally changing the industry." Davy felt his throat tighten. She'd be proud. Not of the attention, but of the impact. The doors opening. She raised a good son. He made sure those doors opened. As Davy left the boutique, he passed the window where the person had recorded that first day. The phone capturing evidence that started everything. He thought about that moment, how close he'd come to just leaving, how easily this could have been just another buried incident. But he'd stayed. And staying had mattered. Not perfectly, not completely, but substantially. Outside, the afternoon sun was bright. Davy walked slowly, letting the heat settle into his bones. His phone buzzed. Message from Leah. Orientation starts tomorrow. I'm terrified and excited and grateful. Wish Grandma could see this, but I'll carry her with me. Love you, cuz. Davy typed back. She's with you, in the watch I'm sending. Check your dorm room tomorrow. And Leah, be brilliant, be kind. Light candles. Love you too. He'd arranged for a watch to be delivered to Leah's MIT dorm. Not expensive, student budget, but quality. Reliable, with an engraving on the case back, for Leah, from Rosa. Time marked with grace. His mother's legacy spreading, through scholarship, through Leah's education, through changed policies, through watchmakers learning better techniques, through every person who heard the story and chose dignity over convenience. Not revolution, just steady, patient work. Candles lighting candles until the darkness had less room to hide. Davy returned to his workshop. He had work waiting, always work waiting. A pocket watch with damaged balance staff, a wristwatch needing full service, an apprentice candidate he'd agreed to interview next week. His mother's watch ticked steadily. He looked at it, this object that had demanded so much and given back even more. Then he picked up his tools and returned to the work he loved. The work continued. The ceremony Anna had mentioned, the one Davy had half forgotten, happened in early August. Not grand, not public, just the workshop staff, some management, Thomas and Leo, and a handful of customers who'd witnessed the original incident. Fall arrived with cooling air and changing light. Davy settled into rhythms that felt sustainable. Workshop in mornings, teaching occasional online sessions for universities, apprentice training twice a week. He'd taken on a young man named Jordan, eager to learn both craft and ethics of the work. Jordan was 22, recent engineering graduate, fascinated by horology's precision. But what impressed Davy most was his curiosity about the why behind the work. Why certain customers got treated differently, why dignity mattered as much as technical skill, why watchmaking was service, not just mechanics. Winter returned. 1 year since that rain-soaked day when everything changed. Davy stood in his workshop looking at the plaque Anna had given him. Rosa's name, her dates, the reminder about craft and courage and courtesy. He'd mounted it where he could see it while working. Some days he barely noticed it, focused on the precision work before him. Other days it stopped him completely, made him remember, made him feel both grief and pride in equal measure. His phone rang. Anna. I wanted you to hear this from me first, she said. We're expanding the program. 5 new companies have adopted the Rosa Benizio model. Not just the scholarship, the whole package. Equity audits, anonymous reporting, training redesign, everything. They've asked us to consult, share what we learned. Davy felt something shift in his chest. 5 companies? 5 so far. More inquiries coming. What started in one boutique is becoming industry standard. Your mother's name is literally changing corporate practice across retail. That's... Davy couldn't find words. That's bigger than I imagined. That's legacy, real legacy, not just memory but ongoing impact. Spring again. Full circle, 18 months after the incident. Davy stood in the same boutique workshop, but this time as invited guest, not supplicant. The space was hosting a horology conference, master watchmakers from around the world gathering to share techniques, innovations, approaches to the ancient craft in modern world. Anna had invited him to present. Not about the discrimination. That story had been told enough. About technique. About the micro-chamfer geometry he'd developed. About integrating modern engineering with classical aesthetics. About his work, finally, not his fight. The room was full. Maybe 60 watchmakers, all eager to learn. Davy set up his presentation, hands steady. Leah sat in the front row, home from MIT for the weekend. Jordan beside her, taking notes intensely. Marco in the back, grinning with pride. "Thank you for coming," Davy began. "I'm going to talk about harmonic dampening in small movements, specifically how we can reduce parasitic vibration without compromising traditional aesthetics." He clicked through slides showing the geometry, the mathematics, the practical application. Watchmakers leaned forward, engaged. Questions came fast, technical, probing, intelligent. Davy answered each one, feeling at home in this discussion of craft, precision, methodology. This was who he was. Not symbol or victim or hero, just an engineer who understood watches, who could solve problems elegantly, who honored tradition while pushing innovation. After the presentation, people clustered around him. Not to talk about discrimination, to talk about escapements and balance wheels and finishing techniques, to debate the merits of various approaches, to share their own innovations. One master watchmaker from Japan, elderly man, legendary in the field, approached. "Your work is exceptional, the kind that advances our craft. I would be honored to collaborate on a project if you're interested." Davy felt stunned. Yes, absolutely. I'd be honored." They exchanged information, made tentative plans. When the man left, Marco appeared at Davy's elbow. "Do you know who that was? Takashi Yamamoto, possibly the finest living watchmaker, and he wants to work with you." "Because of the technique," Davy said. "Just the technique, not the story." "The technique is the story," Marco corrected gently. "Your brilliance, your dedication, your craftsmanship. That's what was disrespected that day, and that's what's being recognized now. Both matter. Both are true." The conference continued through the afternoon. Davy attended other presentations, learned new techniques, networked with peers from around the world. This was his community. These were his people, not defined by the worst moment, but by the daily work of pursuing excellence. That evening, Anna hosted a small dinner. Just core people. Davy, Leah, Jordan, Marco, Raymond, Thomas, Leo, Simone. The ones who'd lived through it together, who'd chosen transformation over defensiveness. "I wanted to tell you all," Anna said as they gathered, "that we've been certified, fully audited and approved as equitable workplace. Industry-leading scores across all metrics. We did it." Applause rippled around the table, but Anna held up her hand. "We did it because Davy didn't let us not do it, because he stayed engaged, because he demanded real change, not performance. This certification belongs to him." "It belongs to all of you," Davy corrected. "To everyone who chose to do the work, who faced discomfort, who kept showing up even when it was hard. Change is collective, always." "To collective change," Leo raised his glass, "and to Rosa Benizio, whose name taught us what we should have already known." They toasted. Davy felt his mother's presence strongly, in the room, in the laughter, in the bonds forged through crisis and maintained through commitment. She would have loved this. The gathering, the progress, the friendships built across difference. After dinner, as people began leaving, Leah pulled Davy aside. "I have news. I got a research position, working on micro-mechanisms for medical devices, using what I learned from you, from Grandma's watch story, applying precision engineering to improve healthcare access." "Leah, that's incredible." "And they want to name the lab after her, the Rosa Benicio Laboratory for Accessible Medical Innovation, if our family agrees." Davy felt emotion overwhelm him. She'd be so proud, so grateful. Yes, absolutely yes. I thought so too. Leah hugged him hard. We're doing it, Davy. Everything she wanted. We're carrying her forward, making the world better, lighting so many candles. She's lighting them through us. We're just the hands. Then may our hands stay steady. Always. They walked out together into spring evening. The air was soft, carrying blossoms. The same streets where this began. The same glass and marble. But everything transformed. Not by grand gestures, by daily practice, by choices repeated until they became culture, by dignity demanded and given and spreading person to person to person. Davy's mother's watch ticked against his wrist. He thought of her hands, her patience, her insistence on grace under pressure, her belief that small lights mattered. That individual acts of dignity compounded into collective transformation. She'd been right. About everything. You ready to go home? Leah asked. In a minute. Davy stood looking at the boutique one more time. At the plaque visible through the window, at the light spilling out onto the street, at the space that had tried to diminish him and now honored his mother's memory permanently. What are you thinking? Leah asked. That time is strange. Marks pain and healing equally. That moment, he gestured towards the boutique. That moment was one of the worst of my life. But it led to this. To change. To your MIT scholarship. To Rosa Benicio Laboratories. To everything that came after. Would you change it if you could? Go back and have them treat you right from the start? Davy thought carefully. No, because then none of this would exist. The scholarships, the policy changes, the students who benefit, your opportunities. I'd rather suffer that day and light these candles than avoid pain and leave darkness unchanged. That's grace, Leah said softly. Finding meaning in suffering. Using pain to create. Light. That's what she taught me. What you're learning. What will teach whoever comes next. They walked toward the subway. The city moved around them. Millions of people, each fighting battles, each making choices about dignity and courage and how to treat one another. The work would never be finished. There would always be more boutiques, more assumptions, more fights to fight. But the candles were lit, the light spreading. Each person who heard the story, each student who received a scholarship, each employee who learned to see more completely. Each one became a light carrier, the work distributed, the burden shared, the impact multiplying beyond any single person's capacity. Davy descended into the subway, Leah beside him. The train arrived. They found seats. Through the window, the city blurred into light and shadow, constant motion, endless possibility. His mother's watch kept time, steady, certain, marking moments that would become memory, that would teach others, that would light more candles. The train moved forward. Davy closed his eyes, felt his mother's presence, heard her voice one more time. You did good, Philo. You lit the candle. Now rest. Let others carry it forward. Your work is complete. Your dignity is intact. Your mother is proud. Davy smiled, opened his eyes, saw Leah beside him, brilliant and strong and heading toward a future made slightly easier by battles fought today. The work was complete. The work continued. Both were true, and both were exactly right. The train carried them home. The city sparkled with lights. The watch ticked steadily. Time moved forward, and Rosa Benicio's name, her memory, her lessons, her legacy, moved with it, teaching, spreading, lighting candles in the darkness, one watch at a time, one person at a time, one moment of dignity practiced steadily into eternity. The work continued. It always would.